Hey, what's going on, NFT Bros Podcast listeners? I am Adam Andrews, your host. On today's episode, we have Crypto Kenny with us as a guest. We're going to talk about NFTs, technology, and everything going on with Web3. We're just going to kind of shoot from the hip today. We don't have any set questions. We're just going to start talking about crypto and go from there. See where it takes us. Talk about NFTs, talk about technology. Maybe we'll get into a little bit of AI. Not sure. We'll see where it goes. But why don't we start off with an introduction, Kenny? Just, 60 seconds, quick and dirty about who you are and what you're doing in the space.
Sure, 100%, man. 60 seconds is rough. My name's Crypto Kenny. I'm known around the NFT spaces. I've been a investor and venture capital firm owner since 2017 in the crypto space. I run between 7 and 8 figures, so depending on what day you ask me, in crypto investments in the space. I am the co-founder of NFT project Alpha Mutants. I'm the co-founder of the Web3 service-based project Blocksafe, which does full launchpad services for Web2 brands. And then just overall NFT enthusiast and investor. I've been in the space a decade now. I've been full-time crypto for 7 years. I love the space and love to get on and talk about the future, talk about the potential and where the money is to be made. At the end of the day, that's what we love. We love to build the space and to make money, man. That's what we're here for.
Dude, hell yeah. Thank you for coming on the podcast. I think if you're listening or watching this on YouTube or whatever, today's episode is going to be extra valuable. Kenny is extremely well-versed in the space. He's a smart dude, somebody that I look up to and take advice from, and very seriously take advice. There's not many people that I take advice from, and I'm cautious about who I take advice from, and Kenny is one of those guys. And so, dude, one, thank you for letting me come on your podcast. It was an honor to be on as a guest, and I enjoyed the conversation. I'm looking forward to today's conversation. I do kind of want to bring something up that's hot in the space and happening right now, that I still haven't figured out whether or not it's legit. I think it is, but the Donald Trump NFTs. Dude, Did you see that? Like, what?
Yeah, man. I was on a
point of view.
I was on a call last night, right, with a bunch of guys that were during the call. I'm trying to run a business meeting here, and all these guys are trying to buy these Donald Trump NFTs last minute. And so I'm like yelling at people, be like, come on, guys, like seriously, I realize this is Web3, but like get it together. But yeah, they're sitting there like, oh, they're at 44,000 sold. They're going to be sold out here in a second. So here's my take on it, okay? Like many things in the space right now, it's a stick. There's no real value to these things outside of, if you want to have a 1 in 45,000 chance of having lunch with Donald Trump, that is valuable to some people, I suppose. The funny thing I find is that, you will see this in any trending technology that first they fight it and they fade it, and then eventually they come around to it, right? So if we rewind back to 2017, 2018, 2019, we see Donald Trump talking very negatively about cryptocurrencies, saying things like, the dollar is the dollar. We don't want these competing currencies here. And then when asked about his wife's NFT collection, he basically brushed that off and said, well, she does her thing, but I'm not for the cryptocurrencies. The dollar's the dollar. Well, then now we have him here launching the official Donald Trump collection. All right. So it's a great example of, they will come, everybody gets converted once money's to be made. Right. So last night they made, $4.5 million on selling a Donald Trump NFT. Now, the interesting thing I find is that this is going to be one of the best performing NFT launches this year. It was on Polygon. It sold out a 45,000 collection in a day, and the volume on secondary is massive already. So when you have a name like Donald Trump behind something like that, it's going to sell. As far as like its place in NFT history, I think it's kind of a pet rock moment, but that's my take on it.
I love the pet rock analogy you came up with there. And I I saw it and I saw the video and I saw some people picking it apart and analyzing the actual video itself because they thought it was fake. I don't know if have you seen the Morgan Freeman? Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Bro, that's crazy. And I was like, really? After all the shit that he was talking about crypto and NFTs and like the technology, but he is a businessman. And I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense. I'm not going to touch it until I can verify that like it's actually legit. I didn't mint any, like, honestly, I don't even think I had crypto in one of my minting wallets, so I didn't want to move any. But yeah, definitely interesting. You bring up.
It's been independently verified, so by a couple people I trust. I haven't personally done it because I haven't taken the time. So I'm 95% sure it's completely legitimate. But let's talk about that video, that promo video that they put out. That was one of the cringiest videos I've ever watched in my life.
Okay. Wait. I think it was strategically cringy as fuck, so it got shared more. I sincerely, like, this is my theory on Donald Trump and, like, his marketing. His marketing is always really good, and it always entices the other people and the haters who don't support him or don't like him to share it, which any media or any press is good press, right?
Yep.
Regardless of who's sharing it, they're sharing it and getting him exposure. I think they strategically made that video really fucking shitty. Dude, lasers coming out of his eyes with a Superman Trump. Oh my God. I was literally fucking almost in tears laughing at that video. And I just was like, he's a fucking genius. Whether you like the guy or not, he's a very, very, very good fucking businessman.
Yeah, I mean, his marketing is on point, but which is something I've always said about, like, you know, why I don't understand why he doesn't love the NFT space, because, you know, we all create personas here, right, in this world. So, you know, for example, on Twitter, you know, I'm Crypto Kenny, right? And Crypto Kenny is a character, that was created under the guise of being that, you know, super empathetic and helpful entity that for good inside the space. And you know, we create these different characters. Some of them are good, some are bad. You know, we're doing a villain or a hero type thing, whatever. And Donald Trump does that fantastically well. Now, the funny thing is, if you've seen behind the door of Donald Trump, what he displays to the media is not what Donald Trump is behind closed doors, right? And you have to be at a certain level to understand this. You have to have been around him. And I associate with quite a few people that have you know, had dinners with Trump and had, you know, private conversations and these type of things. Just like me, with my persona on Twitter, it is one thing, and I'm very empathetic and nice, and I, you know, give away crypto, and I do helpful, you know, podcasts and helpful AMAs and things on Twitter. And then behind closed doors, I mean, I'm a shark, right? I do venture capital, and some people I like, you know, take their butts on deals and stuff. That's just how it is. So there's a separation between, you know, what the persona we put out there and what we actually are. And Donald Trump is a master at creating this quirky and, like, sometimes cringy but funny, and you watch his shit whether you like him or not, right? You watch it because you want to see that stuff. So it's, you know, I mean, once again, this was a master class in you know, he comes into the NFT space and he dominates in the NFT space as well. I mean, you know, it shows you what kind of businessman he is. Yep,
Absolutely. And, like, well, honestly, you put it perfectly. I won't even continue on that thread. That was extremely well put. Now, have you been paying attention to what's happening with, like, Yuga Labs and the celebrity promoters around and what's happening with that, with, like, Kevin Hart, Justin Bieber, Snoop Dogg, all the lawsuits that are being filed against them?
Yeah. So yes, I have a little bit, and there's some. I've never been. I've gotten some slack from this over the last couple of years. I've never been a big supporter of, or even like an enthusiast of, you know, Yuga Labs or several other of the top blue chip cryptocurrencies. Because people see what is presented to them, but they don't look behind the screen doors. And part of what I do and what my teams do is we look behind the gated community, right? We see what's back there. And so when you had all of these celebrities purchasing, quote unquote, Bored Apes and stuff to market, right? The vast majority of these individuals do not even own those NFTs. Okay, so they've used Web 2 to Web 3 based bridge services to take custody of these things as a promotional aspect. So it's a bunch of lies, right? It's fugazi, it's fairy dust. And when you know that type of stuff and you see that type of marketing, I normally tend to stay away from those things because it always comes up when you start stirring the pot, right? Those things always come back. So now what you're seeing is people are getting sued because they're presenting themselves as an actual interested investor when in reality they were a paid promoter, right? And there's a very, very dangerous line when it comes to that. So I don't have any empathy towards them. I think that if you're not growing your project organically, and if you're trying to mislead the public in any way in marketing, then then you deserve what you get. So it is what it is.
I absolutely resonate with the majority of what you just said. Yeah. So then I'm guessing you take a very similar standpoint on what's going on with the FTX bullshit and what's transpired there. That has just been an oh, fuck. It feels like Quadriga CX again times fucking 20. I wasn't even around when that happened, but I am aware of it, and it's just like, dude, it's literally this again. Like so my question is, on top of the FTX, like how you feel about that? How do you think we mitigate this from happening again in this space, aside from like due diligence? I personally, I think that's the only way. I think that this was a giant conspiracy with some people who are in major power, and this was all planned out, in my personal opinion. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so man, you can go so deep into these things. So I was around for Quadriga, I was around for Mount Gox. I've seen these things before. FTX makes those things look like a day in the park. Okay, FTX is on a scale that has never been matched in fraud history. Okay, and this is something that I will say it like this: whenever you see a fraud on a massive scale, there's normally more to it than what you're actually seeing. Okay, so you can look back at the beginnings of Sam Bankman-Fried, and people were touting him as a wizard of crypto, and I've supported what Sam did because I have no affiliation with FTX. I've never used FTX. So I've never really kept an eye on them at all. My people never looked into what they were doing because it didn't matter to me. But I think even in a few tweets I was like, it's nice to see a crypto billionaire, trying to support other companies, when he was trying to say BlockFi stuff. But when you actually look into everything, which now I've been forced to, Sam was not a genius in any form or fashion. Sam did some good crypto arbitrage, many years ago when many people were doing crypto arbitrage. He made 20 million or so before that got squashed. But the funny thing is you have all of these problems with, like, it cost way more than 20 million to set up FTX. There's a bunch of investor money that no one knows where it came from. There's no way to find out. Gary Wang, who the fuck is Gary Wang? We don't know. They can't, I've never seen his face. Have you seen his face on the media yet? No, nobody has. And so there is this idea of with the massive amounts of donations that were going to parties that hate cryptocurrency and that want massive regulation. There's some there's some conspiracy here, right? Now I'm involved with a private group that BitBoy's in, and we were all like kind of concerned about him, about how deep he was going in trying to find the ins and outs of all this, because when you talk about conspiracies of this level and potential involvement of governments or other entities, sometimes it just behooves you just to shut up and look at it. And if you see the information that's there, to kind of just put your hands up and walk away, because it's going to be a dirty thing. I do think that there should be rakebacks out the ass for this. I think they should be taking them back from all the political parties that were donated to. I think that any individual that money was just given to in any type of capacity, that they should take that money back and try to make right some of the investors. I don't think that there should be any sympathy given to Sam Bankman-Fried, because there are 16-year-old kids out there that would have understood what he was doing was absolutely fraudulent and wrong. So to say that he doesn't understand that or was unaware of that is just absolute dog shit, in my opinion. I think he was very aware of it. I do think that he may not be the real movement behind the problem. I think he may have just been a pawn. But it's terrible. Now, as far as like, how do we move forward? Like, what do we do with this? I mean, I had this conversation a couple days ago with some really big investors in the space, and they're like, Kenneth, is it even safe to like be here anymore? Like with all this stuff. So and my statement to them is, well, guys, listen, what projects, protocols, dApps have failed in the last 12 months with this? Centralized ones, right? Centralized entities. You haven't seen any decentralized, dApps going down. You haven't seen any, hands off, these type of things. I said there's a reason for that, because that is not what we've seen is the destruction of entities that have come in and gotten greedy and brought real world, old school financial fraud into cryptocurrency, right? So here's my thing. My take is, there has to be on and off ramps, right? On and off ramps need to be regulated. They need to be required to hold one-for-one backing. This is not fractionalized banking, okay? We cannot go that route here. But besides the on and off ramps, fucking institutions need to keep their hands out of crypto, right? The decentralized applications is what we're here for, and it's a technology that's ahead of its time. Pretty soon, most of the in real world applications are going to be quote unquote decentralized, or not even decentralized, but autonomous. We're seeing AI and stuff coming around. But to keep crypto safe, I think there needs to be level-headed regulation, which is very simple. It's do not allow fractionalized banking in crypto exchanges. It's very fucking simple. If someone puts in a Bitcoin, you hold a Bitcoin to back it, right? You make your money on your transaction fees, and that's it. That's all you got, man. That's absolutely it. And then I think education is the next thing. Like, we need to educate the living hell out of the public, which is one of the things I really liked about that Trump drop, because they had a section on their website that was very, very good at educating people as to how to open wallets, why to open wallets, giving them step-by-step instruction. And we all need to be doing that. My one of my companies, Blocksafe, besides for the fact that we bring Web 2 brands into Web 3, we have a big program that focuses around educating the users of these brands that we bring in to how to use crypto properly and how to take fiscal responsibility over their own assets, right? So those two things, I would say, is where we need to start. There's lots of micro things we'll have to do going down the road, but don't overcomplicate things, right? That's where we have to start to make this thing work.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. It's education. And, I had a podcast with a real estate NFT tokenization platform, right? Yesterday. And we were talking about this very thing. And it's like, the reason people don't understand NFTs or the blockchain technology is because it's being presented to them in a way that is difficult to understand. And this is a topic and a question that I like to ask all of my guests. And I love to hear the different answers that we get, because I feel like the more we talk about how we view NFTs amongst each other in this space, it helps us gain perspective to be able to explain the technology and its use cases to other people in different ways. And so I like to ask, what is an NFT? How would you explain an NFT to somebody who has no fucking clue what NFT technology is and what it can do?
I think that we overcomplicate that so often. And, when I'm talking about NFTs, this is exactly what I say. An NFT is digital property. That's all it is. So when I'm explaining to people, I was like, so here's the 30-second spill. If you have a Michael Jordan rookie card that's graded, right? That's a form of digital property. It's collectible. And then you might also have a bar of gold, right? Form of digital property that is a value, a stable value, right? So those are both forms of property in real life. So in crypto, you have NFTs, which are collectible forms or utility-based forms of property, but they're digital. And you have, things like BTC and ETH that are value propositions, which are like gold or silver, whatever that you're collecting in the real world. So in real life, if I have those things, more often than not, I keep them in a safety deposit box. I keep them in a safe in my house, right? So you have a wallet. That's simply what it is. So to get a safe, I go to the store, I buy a safe. To get a digital safe, I go to MetaMask or another wallet provider and I download it and create a wallet, right? Same thing. When I get my safe, I put my security code in. I set my security code. In my digital safe with my wallet, I set my seed phrase, right? It's the same thing. It's a very freaking simple concept. And so it's the same thing. My NFTs are my Pokemon card collection, are my rare collectibles, whether that be stamps or anything else. It's an ulterior form of investment or value, and I keep them in a digital safe, just like I keep my gold in a physical safe at my house, right? I mean, it's so simple to me, and I think when people start talking about, they start talking about the metadata and the forced rarity and and they start talking about all these more technical things. I think it just coughs it up. I mean, it's digital property, digital collectibles. It's just a digital representation of things that you have all around your house already, right? Simple.
Love it. I love that explanation. And it kind of rolls with the explanation I got yesterday from S, who was on the podcast, and his way of explaining it was a digital receipt, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a digital receipt on the blockchain. The way that I explain it is similar. I have a few different ways that I explain it depending on who the person is. And so, like, if I'm explaining it to somebody who just doesn't understand technology at all, like doesn't understand social media, let's say they're like a boomer, right? Mm-hmm. How to explain crypto to a boomer, right? Here's a video on how you can explain crypto to a boomer, right? It's a Costco membership, digital Costco membership. That's how that explanation immediately clicks with every boomer I've ever explained it to. And they just instantly, they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then they really kind of get engaged with the conversation because they can understand it. And I think these are the types of conversations we have to continue growing the space at a rate that doesn't feel like a snail's pace, right? Yeah. And you said you're going to be on a podcast with or a show with BitBoy tomorrow. I kind of want to get your like view on him in the space and what you think about him, because there's been a lot of like allegations and things like that. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. We can cut this out. But I just like to bring it up. It's something that a lot of people ask. I personally, I don't think I would have him on my podcast just because of the allegations that are out there and the projects that he promoted paid, knowing that they were paid without disclosing that. And I think that there should be an SEC investigation into that. But that's just my personal opinion. I would like to hear your opinion because you're really well versed in this space and you're someone that I respect and listen to. So
yeah. So anyone that knows me outside of my Crypto Kenny persona knows that I base everything I do off of facts, right? Factual evidence. And so I'm not biased towards anybody. I have lots of affiliates and there are levels to this space that it's very hard to understand until you get there, right? So this is my take. I think Ben as a person is, I think that he's had a long journey in this, right? So he came from absolutely nothing, doing videos about little crypto things for years and years, and he caught fame at the right time during this uptick and uprun, and he did, man. When you start making money like that, okay, the most people that haven't made money before in that way when people start offering you, $200,000 to promote something, I mean, it's like a kid at Christmas, and you don't understand it until you're there, right? So it's very hard, and I think there's a lot of good-meaning people that got stuck in those things, and they made big mistakes. Now, does that take any responsibility from them? No, because you shouldn't ever do anything until you fully understand the repercussions. Okay. I've never sponsored anybody, and I will never sponsor anything. Number one, because I've made enough money to where no amount of money that I can be offered makes me so giddy that I lose my rationale, right? But the other thing is that you have a reputation in the space. Once the reputation has been soiled, it is very difficult to come. I mean, we've seen people like personalities like Beanie Maxey, who was completely extradited from the space. That had a promising, career in the space and could have done great things for crypto. But because of some choices that he made and some backing that he put out there, basically extradited from the space. So, to me, I think that Ben did not make a calculated judgment as to what he had done, in the last couple years. And I think that Ben is very emotional. I've sat across from people that have criticized me and my team and different things. And I mean, I take it like I'm talking to you right now. It doesn't bother me. I've been there, and, I'll address what I can address, and what I can't. And then people can make their own opinions up. And, some people like me, some people don't. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. Ben, because before crypto, he was not in that position to be in worlds where you get tons and tons of slack and eyes on you. I think that his emotions sometimes get the better of him. And I think that makes him susceptible to a lot of things. So I always called BitBoy Crypto like crypto for base beginners. Like, once you watch a few of his videos, if you get anything beyond, like, I created a MetaMask, then you go to other crypto YouTubers, because the information's better, right? I mean, it's more in depth and it's better. But Ben has done a lot as far as bringing people into the space, and I've got to commend him for that. But I do think I do personally think that he's done some things that have been questionable. And as far as anyone that's ever promoted a coin that has went to zero and lost people money, they probably needs to be some investigation into that, right? I mean, for anybody. So, I mean, I'm sorry, all those people out there that I've talked to, and that's just my opinion based off of my moral stance in the space and my personal beliefs. So, I mean, I hope that answered your question a little bit, but
yeah, no, it definitely did. It answered it in a very, very good way as well. I have noticed, and I've watched a few of his things, and I think you hit the nail on the head. He is a very emotional guy. Like, I've seen him at, for example, an in-person crypto event where somebody asked him about a scam, and he just lost it. Right? Yeah. He just started yelling at the person. And I was like,
with his hands around.
I was like, really? You're a grown ass man, and you can't just fucking relax, center yourself, and answer a question. Granted, I've been there. I've been that emotional person where somebody asked me a question and it pissed me off, right? But I think that you mentioned there's levels to this crypto game, and where you're at the level where if someone offered you $200,000, you wouldn't promote it, right? And I think overall there's just levels to everything in life, right? And there's an emotional tolerance level that you get to after having been grilled with questions and essentially gotten shit on enough for mistakes you've made or things that you've done. And I just don't think that he's gotten there.
I think that something else to be said about it is that you have to mentally prepare yourself, because if you haven't had some kind of kickback, then you're probably not a actual voice in this community, right? Because until you've had somebody say, pointed a finger at you or threw some FUD on you, because I mean, here's a great example. So I have a Launchpad service, right? So we launch all kinds of projects. We don't discriminate with projects. If somebody comes to us and says, hey, we want to launch a project, and as long as we make sure that they're doxxed and that we can, that they're not, obvious fraudsters, we'll help them launch that project. So, over time, we'll launch a project, and then we leave that project in somebody's hands. Well, 8 months later, they may scam their people for money. 8 months later, the project may crash and burn, and that could come back on me. They'd be, well, Crypto Kenny and his team, they wrote the contracts for that, or they did the marketing or whatever it is, built their websites, and that can be true, right? And people are welcome to pull those things. But the reality is that the space is so small and there's so much interconnectivity that you have a moral stance and you have a business plan. But if you are so self-righteous to think that you are never going to ever work with someone that is not ethically, behind, and you don't know about it, or have some kind of affiliation with a project that did something that was seedy, then man, you don't understand this space and you haven't been in there long enough. It's always going to happen. It is how you react to those things and how quickly you denounce those actions and are transparent about what parts you had in them, that's going to save you in the long run, because it's bound to happen. It's going to happen at some level.
Yeah, it's like being born into this world and getting to a point where you can think your own thoughts, age 8, 9, 10, and where you start forming memories, and it's like you get to this point and then you think, oh, I'm never gonna meet somebody who's gonna do me wrong ever. Mm-hmm. It's like having that point of view. And then I feel like there's so many investors in this space that have that viewpoint and like immediately shit on somebody for a small mistake, or missing a deadline, or happening to build a website for a project that ends up rugging. Yep. How are you supposed to know that ahead of time? You did your due diligence. They were doxxed, or so they said, right? There's so many there's just people in the world. You can fucking find somebody on Instagram and take their shit and say that you're them, and never do a visual video podcast or a video, and just use pictures, and you're fucking some random person that no one's ever actually heard of. It's a fake identity, right? And what I would say is this: here's a great example. So I wrote many months ago. I wrote some tweets, and I'm semi-active on Twitter, doing things, more active in the spaces and AMAs and panels and stuff. But so I put out some tweets on Twitter. I'll put out certain trades that I'm making every now and then. I'll do giveaways. I'll promote a space I'm going to be in, those type of things. So many months ago, I had put out a series of tweets about Sam Bankman-Fried, right? And they were positive. They were positive about FTX and about something to the effect of, I was happy to see another exchange compete with Binance. I really like what Sam's doing with supporting builders in the space with Alameda, those type of things. Now you'll see 90% of the influencers on Twitter, when the FTX FUD started coming down, they were deleting those tweets, and they were saying, "Oh no, I never said anything about whatever." Man, I embraced that shit. I actually wrote a tweet and said, "Guys, I apologize. This is one I'm taking on the mouth. I did not do my research. Here's the tweets I did. You take it on the chin, right? Like, I'm not God. I don't know the right answer to everything. And there's going to be things that I look at and I'm like, oh man, I mean, that's good. That's cool. And then it turns out being not good, not cool. You know what I mean? So you just be transparent, man. You be like, listen, I'm a human being like anybody else. I have made money in this space. I have lost money. I've had good calls. I've had bad calls. This was a bad call. Yeah, dude, it's so true. Like, especially when people in the space come to you for advising, right? Mm-hmm. Advising is a very easy route for people to make money in this space, and a lot of them do it. A lot of them take these offers because they're like, dude, honestly, I know some people who have made like $2 million just advising projects after they launched theirs. Mm-hmm. And they just take on all of them. They just, every single one that they get offered money. They don't have a set rate. They don't have morals. They don't have ethics. They'll just fucking take on any. Yep. I do my research. You did your research. I did as much research as I possibly could for a project that I advised in the past. And I gave them as much solid advice as I could about marketing, about how to build their community, about, what to do and the timelines to do it. And I gave them as much marketing and business advice as I could. I helped them set up their back-end systems. And lo and behold, a week before mint day, they changed their mind. They said, you know what, we're just going to do a free mint. They do a free mint the next day when I'm traveling. I had no idea they were doing it. They do a free mint, let alone, I didn't know. They paid some Telegram group to come and mint the project out to get it trending. And I was like, that's super fucking unethical. Why did you guys do that? Like, that to me is super fucking disrespectful in the relationship and time invested that I gave to you to help you launch this in a successful and actually sustainable manner. But they went behind my back. They paid these fucking fake, whale groups to come in here and mint a free project out that had an unlimited mint amount per wallet. And it was like, you guys expect me to continue advising you, and like, it's not going to happen. You did something behind my back that I view as unethical, and I'm completely like, fuck this. I'm deleting all my shit, and I'm putting out a statement saying, like, I do not fucking back you guys anymore. And 3 weeks later, the team internally had issues, and they were just like, you know what, fuck this, I'm done. And they rugged. And I was like, it's disgusting to me that somebody would treat me like that. But it plays into this conversation perfectly. How could I have known that? I met one of them literally in person in Fort Worth.
Yep.
I shook his hand. He was a real person who was saying who he was. And I was like, okay, like, you're really going to go rug a community and do some unethical shit like this? I'm optimistic, and I was like, okay, they're probably not going to do fucked up shit. They're probably going to be mans of their word and do what they say. But you know what? At the end of the day, they didn't. And
yeah, well, and it's and
I have to accept that.
Yeah, and there's layers to it, man, because it's like, the problem with this is it's the same problem we have in any emerging market. Like, and this one's really bad because any kid and their dog could have got involved with crypto and NFTs, right? Anybody can, like, absolutely anywhere. And the problem with that is you get people coming in here, these kids, man, kids that have had no experience in business or trading or anything, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And like a lot of these rug projects, I'm sorry, and some of your audience may not like me saying this, but a lot of these guys, they were just as much victims as their communities were. Like they some of these guys probably had really great, intentions, and then they get to this and they think that an NFT project isn't the same as a business, but it is. And then they're like, oh my God, I've got to like run this like a business, and they're in over their heads, right? And that's not to say that there's not a lot of nefarious actors out there. Obviously there is. But what you have to look at in this space is man, be careful what advice you take from anybody, because I'll tell you right now, 90% of the influencers on crypto Twitter don't know what the hell they are doing. They have no idea. I have been on calls, guys. Listen, I've done a decade in financial education, in financial planning, in investment planning, in strategy. I've done classes that people have paid $500, $1,000 an hour to sit in and do. I've been around the block in this stuff, right? And I have been as an advisor brought on with other advisors, like a panel of advisors for projects, and I sit there and get a migraine listening to some of these 21-year-old kids advising ridiculous business protocol for these projects and stuff, just absolutely asinine stuff. And half the time I have to throw up my hands and be like, listen, if you're going to have other advisors like this on your team, I'm gone, because I cannot advise stupidity. If you cannot see common sense, and if you don't know the basics of running a business, I can't do this with you. And I think it's insane that there were these people that were making hundreds of thousands of dollars as quote unquote advisors in an industry that's less than 2 years old, and thinking that these guys know what they're doing. You would have been better off to hire someone that was a financial advisor in real life for the past decade, and they would have done better than what the NFT people could, because it's just not there yet. But I mean, that's just the immaturity of the space, man. It's the immaturity of the space, and it'll develop over time. It'll get better over time. A part of what we need to do is to create a culture that says, hey guys, like you need to actually have some real in life knowledge. You need to have a book of business. You need to have references. You need to have numbers. So when someone says they're going to be your advisor, or you ask for an advisor, your first question would be, well, what value are you bringing to my project? And they should be able to produce to you. When someone asks us when we come on as advisors, my team or myself, I say, well, here is the projects that we have, successfully launched. And then here is a book of referrals from founders across those projects that in their own words that you can message them and verify have said, hey, because of these guys, we did $250,000 in additional sales. Because of these guys, we launched $1 million project, whatever. But you need to have, let's stop, putting form and function to fairy dust, and let's start looking at facts again. And then maybe we can actually get somewhere in this space. You know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely, very, very, very well said. You hit the nail on the head there, and I resonate a ton with what you said in regards to people coming into the space and not really knowing what the fuck they're doing. Like, there's some of these influencers who just they just get high and say funny shit on Twitter and make calls and they get paid, and it's like, dude, what 21-year-old doesn't want to just get high and fuck around buying weird fucking pictures online and making ass loads of money? As a 21-year-old, I would have definitely been like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want to do that. Yeah. I was doing some other shit when I was 21. But like, it's the space is too young, and there's too many people who don't come into this with the correct mindset of, this isn't a project. A project by definition has a deadline, and it's a short-term thing, right?
Yep.
And there's too many people coming in saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to launch this project and we're going to do this and this and this. And it's like, it's nice, but dude, it's not a business. You don't, like, what do your back-end systems look like? Do you have an HR department? Like, what are your SOPs? Yeah. Do you have SOPs in place? Do you actually have a business? Or is this just like, hey, I have a Discord?
Yeah.
Because for the most part, you just have a Discord and a fucking Twitter and a website. That's not a business.
No.
Back-end systems and having people in place to coordinate with other projects and to deliver on timelines and assets and different things, that's a business. That's a company. There's too many people who are just building projects and because it's hype, because they can make money, because they have some sort of fucking influence in the space, and it's disgusting. I think with this bear market, you saw a lot of them leave. A lot of them leave. But what's starting to come back is them. They're starting to come back. They're starting to go, oh, like, I just took a mental break. It's like, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope you guys that are listening are fucking paying attention to this and just actually take advice from fucking people who like are actually doing shit.
Yeah. So let me tell you guys something. So most of the influencers' claim to fame was that they got in early on an NFT project, right? Which that's not strategy. That's not knowledge. That's being at the right place at the right time, right? Okay. So if that is a value proposition, then honestly, you have no business even calling yourself an investor in this space. So the problem is most of those people that had the amount of money that they had seeded up from those NFTs, when the bear market came, that all went away, right? Like 50 ETH NFTs became 1 ETH NFTs, and so everyone was crying and running. And you're right. So that they jumped out when the calls were hard. So I measure an influencer by, did your communities make money while all this bear market was going down, right? So you have to gauge that. So one of the air marks of my NFT project that I currently run is that my people, that we have continued to pay our people out profit margins and have continued to make calls, regardless of what the market is, right? And if the NFT influencer that you're following can't say the same, then stop following them. And it's you listeners out here, it's your fault. All right, it's your guys' fault because you guys support people like this. Okay, because they make weird fucking noises on fucking spaces, or because they're so like just chill and out there because you can hear them hit their bong in the background when they're on the thing. It's your fault. It's your fault. You're losing money because you're supporting people that don't know what the fuck they're doing. So, what I would tell you is get to the people that right now are still here grinding. You don't see those people out here creating content and talking about the real issues, the real issues of the space while this is going on. You don't see those people and their projects still bringing value to their community members when everything's going to shit. Okay, so find those real people, those handful of real influencers and real builders in the space, and support those people. And then guess what? Then there won't be as many rug pulls. Then there won't be as many bad calls. Then there won't be as much, just ridiculousness going on. And then we can all actually start building and making money, which is what we're supposed to be here for in the first place, right? So it's your fault. Go fix it.
Boom! Fucking knowledge drop. And on that note, we're going to fucking end the episode because that shit was fire. This has been a wonderful conversation. Want to have you back when, Blocksafe launches something that you want to tell our audience about and help you promote that. I don't promote things that I don't believe in or wouldn't invest in myself and haven't done research. And so you're welcome to come back. Because, I've done my research on you. You're somebody that I would take advice from. And those are the only people that are allowed on the podcast and allowed to, promote what they're doing. So with that being said, thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for listening, everybody who's attending. Thank you for your time, Kenny. I like to give, 60 seconds to 2 minutes at the end of every episode for my guests to kind of, promote what they're doing, let our audience know how they can get in touch with you, how they can connect, how they can, maybe invest in your NFT project or whatever you're doing. So with that said, the floor is yours.
Sure. So number one, I would absolutely enjoy it if you'd follow me on Twitter. I do put out, I try to give back a lot to the community. So I like to do giveaways for my community people that follow me. I like to do calls in the market when I do personal trading and those type of things. So if you want to do that, I'm sure that we'll have a link down there for my Twitter. If you're interested in my personal NFT project, Alpha Mutants, which we are an alpha and utility based project, we also share revenues with our holders. We are still doing that. We're paying out our holders in ETH rewards every month. You can check that out. The OpenSea links down below. And the biggest thing I've got going on right now is the launch of Blocksafe. So we're officially launching. We're currently actively launching about a half dozen projects right now, but we will be officially starting our marketing campaign to bring on more projects in January. We can go ahead and post the website down below. You can check us out. We do not discriminate. We launch projects in the multi-million-dollar range, and we launch, a local artist that would just like to get a generative NFT collection of their art done. We help everybody. We price accordingly. So if you need any kind of help with getting your NFT project off the ground, whether that be social, marketing, contracts, development, there's a little section where you can request an interview with my team for free on the website. So you can definitely do that. And besides for that, that's what I got. So come and check out some of the stuff and say hi.
Awesome. Dude, thank you again for coming on. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your thoughts. I think that these types of conversations are what is going to really help Web3 grow in an educated and safe manner, which is what I'm trying to promote, right? And with that being said, everybody, thank you for listening. If you learned anything, if you got any value out of anything that we talked about, please drop a comment, leave a review, give us a like, subscribe. It helps us in the algorithm onboard more people into Web3. If the explanation he gave about digital safe made sense to you, it might make sense to somebody else. Please just share this episode with one person. That's all I ask. I don't take sponsorship money. I don't take ad revenue from anything for this podcast. The only sponsors that sponsor the podcast are my own companies and maybe some friends here in the future. But, none of it's paid, and I take pride in that. So if you could, please leave us a review. It would be, it means the world to me. I read those on a weekly basis. So with that being said, thank you guys. All of Crypto Kenny's information about Blocksafe, his Alpha Mutants project, and his personal Twitter and everything will be in the podcast show notes or the YouTube description below. All right. Thank you guys for joining us, and have a wonderful day. Peace.